The Kia MVP belongs to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from Oklahoma City Thunder.
We have breaking news here on NBA Today. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been named the 2024-25 MVP.
There's always a light at the end of the tunnel if you do the right things and you trust the work and you stick with it. And I guess we're all seeing that today.
When Shai entered the league, nobody treated him like the future. He wasn't the most explosive, he didn't come from a powerhouse high school, he wasn't loud, flashy, or marketed as the next big thing. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't need hype, he needed time. With every season, he added something. More skill, more control, more silence in the room when he took over. While other players chased headlines, Shai chased the game. And now he's not just keeping up, he's leading. Because the thing about being overlooked is, eventually, they have no choice but to watch. Before anyone labeled him a superstar, before the 30-point games and MVP talk, Shai was just another tall, skinny kid in Hamilton trying to find a lane. He wasn't a can't-miss prospect, but he worked. He studied angles, learned how to slow defenders down without speeding himself up, figured out how to control the game without needing to dominate it physically. At first, people thought he was solid, but that was just a polite way of saying they didn't see what was coming. He wasn't flashy, he was surgical, and by the time you realized he had 22 points, it was too late. No one expected him to lead a team. He wasn't ranked like a future star, he didn't carry himself like one either, but every time he stepped on the floor, he got a little better, and a little harder to ignore. He didn't need to prove anything to the crowd, just to himself. And that quiet confidence, it's what started everything.
What can you envision on a team that's going to have so many new players? How do you see that working out?
I think it'll be crazy fun. Playing with guys really makes you better. Competing at practice makes you better every day, and I just can't wait to get after it.
When Shai committed to Kentucky, nobody called him the future. He was a 4-star recruit on a 5-star roster, another name, another number, and a program filled with NBA talent. Most people didn't even expect him to start, but he didn't panic, didn't press, he just studied, waited, and worked. Early in the season, he came off the bench, quiet, under control, doing the little things. Then a few weeks later, Coach Cal had no choice. Shai had to start, and when he did, everything changed. He didn't just hold his own, he took over. He led Kentucky in assists, steals, minutes, ran the offense with patience, poise, and purpose, and when the lights got bright in March, he raised his level again. In the SEC tournament, he was the best player on the floor. In the NCAA tournament, he dropped 27 on Buffalo and nearly carried them to the Elite Eight. It wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, it was just elite guard play. Smart decisions, timely shots, total control. By the end of the season, the scouts started calling. Shai wasn't just a role player anymore. He was the engine. And it felt like he'd figured that out long before anyone else did. On draft night, Shai looked the part. Calm, clean-cut, confident. Most mock drafts had him going mid-first round. Some teams were looking for flash. Shai was offering feel. The Hornets took him at 11, and minutes later, they traded him to the Clippers. No franchise photos, no intro press conference, just a handshake and a plane ticket. Shai didn't complain. He just showed up in Los Angeles and went to work. No one knew what to expect, but inside that Clippers locker room, it became clear fast. He wasn't scared of the moment. He played like a vet, stayed in his lane, made the smart reads, hit tough shots when it mattered, and on a playoff team full of dogs, he didn't blink once. Still, the national spotlight wasn't on him. He wasn't dunking on people or going viral, but those who were watching closely, they saw a 19-year-old who looked way too comfortable doing grown man things. And that was just the beginning. In Los Angeles, Shai didn't walk in like a rookie. He moved different, played with control most guys don't figure out until year 6. And on a Clippers team full of vets grinding for playoff spots, he didn't just fit, he stood out. Doc Rivers said he had old soul energy. Lou Williams said he asked questions like a coach. The way he picked apart defenses, slowed the game down, took tough shots without blinking, it was clear this kid had something different. And just when it seemed like LA had found a foundational piece, they let him go. That summer, Kawhi Leonard wanted a co-star, and the Clippers made a move to land Paul George. The price? 5 first-round picks, Danilo Gallinari and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was the least discussed name in the trade. The throw-in, the potential. OKC didn't flinch. Sam Presti saw what others didn't. A future superstar in disguise. No press conference cameras, no national attention, just a kid in a new city starting over. And still, he didn't say a word. He just worked. By mid-season, it was obvious. He wasn't just adjusting, he was ascending. The Clippers had gotten the stars, but OKC, they got their future. The plan was simple. Rebuild. They had draft picks and they had cap space. They weren't supposed to be good for a while, but then came Chris Paul, and what was meant to be a transition year turned into a proving ground. CP3 taught him the nuances, pace, angles, leadership, and instead of deferring, Shai leaned in. He averaged 19 a game that year, shared the backcourt with a Hall of Famer, and never looked lost. OKC made the playoffs and pushed the Rockets to 7 games. And when the season ended, so did the mentorship. Chris Paul was traded. The roster was cleared, and suddenly, the Thunder were his. Most guys in his spot would have panicked or asked out. Shai didn't flinch, he just got in the lab. He worked on his handle, refined the mid-range game, and became more vocal. The Thunder weren't winning much, but they were building. And right at the center of it all was Shai. After Chris Paul left, OKC hit the reset button hard. The roster turned over, veterans were traded, the expectations dropped to 0. And in the middle of all that noise, Shai started evolving. He didn't have a superstar beside him. Most nights, the Thunder weren't even competitive. But behind the losing, Shai was cooking. His numbers jumped. More touches, more control, more responsibility. He averaged 23 a game in his 3rd season. He wasn't just playing smart, he was playing like a future all-star. And then the shutdown started. Late in back-to-back seasons, the Thunder sat him. They weren't tanking on paper, but the message was clear: protect the rebuild. And while the basketball world focused on contenders, Shai went quiet again. No all-star nods, no playoff spotlights, no signature moment to put him on the map, just steady growth in the shadows. He turned into one of the most complete guards in the league. The Thunder weren't winning, but they had something real. And when the league came back around, Shai would be ready. By the start of the 2022 season, the whispers had grown louder. Shai wasn't just a good young guard anymore, he was doing things only stars do. He averaged over 31 points per game, shot 51% from the field, got to the line at an elite rate, and played defense with purpose. And he did it all without ever rushing. Everything in his game looked calm, calculated, inevitable. He didn't need three-pointers to dominate. He'd get to his spot, 18 feet from the basket, and just operate. Euro steps, hesitations, offhand floaters, all smooth, all deadly. The league had no answer, and finally they had no choice but to recognize it. Shai was named All-NBA First Team, ahead of established stars, ahead of louder names. Because even without the spotlight, his game had gotten too loud to ignore. He didn't celebrate like a star, didn't campaign for MVP, didn't need validation. He just played his way into the conversation. And now, he wasn't just someone to watch for the future, he was already here. And the numbers, the wins, and the tape all said the same thing. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was undeniable. The Thunder weren't supposed to be this good this soon. They were young, they were fun, but contenders? Not yet. Until they were. Chet Holmgren finally hit the floor. Jalen Williams took another leap. And at the center of it all, still steady, still silent, was Shai. He didn't have to carry everything anymore, but he still led everything. Every late game bucket, every crucial stop, every moment that mattered, Shai was in control. He didn't dominate with force, he did it with rhythm, timing, composure. While other teams relied on stars yelling in huddles, OKC followed the guy who never raised his voice, and they kept winning. Climbing to the top of the West, turning heads every night, the league started asking, are they ahead of schedule? But in Oklahoma City, it didn't feel rushed. It felt earned. Because this team had been building in the dark, and their leader, he'd been ready to step into the light for a long time. The regular season answered a lot of questions, but the playoffs? That's where legacies begin. And in 2024, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't just show up, he set the tone. He defended at a high level, made the right play every time, took over when it mattered most. He wasn't overwhelmed by the moment, he looked like he belonged there. And more than that, he looked like he'd been waiting for it. Night after night, he went toe-to-toe with stars. And most nights, he was the best player on the floor. Not because he was the loudest, but because he was the most in control. The Thunder didn't just survive the postseason, they announced themselves. And Shai, he did what he's always done. No campaign, no self-promotion, just elite basketball played the right way. Now in 2025, the stakes are even higher. OKC is back in the playoffs, deeper and more dangerous than ever. Shai isn't sneaking up on anyone this time. The face of a contender, the engine behind it all. And still, he's not chasing attention, because once the playoffs arrive, Shai doesn't raise his voice, he raises his game. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was never supposed to be here. He wasn't loud enough, but maybe that's exactly why he's different. Because while others chased validation, he chased growth. While others sought fame, he just kept showing up. And now, he's not a hidden gem. He's not an underrated rising star. He's a franchise. He's a blueprint. He's the answer to the question, what happens when you build your game instead of your image? The league didn't see him coming, but they see him now. Not because he asked to be seen, but because his game left them no choice. Shai didn't break through the noise, he outlasted it.